Welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. In this podcast, your host, Lori Amin, will interview published authors to chat about their work, journey to getting published, and their book recommendations. If you share a passion for books and always looking for your next read, then join us. Welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. Today we have an author interview with one of my favorite debut authors of 2019, Skye McDonald. Skye has published 2 books in the AntiBelle series, Not Suitable for Work and Off the Rocker. These books are steamy romance set in Nashville, and they're so good. Today's interview, we chat about Skye's writing process, why she decided to set her books in Nashville, and of course, around the book recommendations. Now let's get to the show. Hi, Skye. Welcome to the What to Read Next podcast.
Laura, thank you so much for having me.
So happy to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a debut author as of September, self-published, and in my day-to-day life, I'm also an English teacher, high school English teacher, and I also am a spin instructor, so an indoor cycling instructor. I live in Brooklyn, New York, although I am born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee, which is where all my books are set. But I live up here in Brooklyn with my corgi. And I have for quite some time. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
I love it. So where do you teach spin? So maybe I take a class.
Well, I teach spin at New York Sports Club.
Okay.
So I kind of sub around the city. I have one regular class, but I work for New York Sports Club up here. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been teaching spin for 10 years now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Where do you go?
I go to Swerve. I tried Soul Cycle. I hated it. I've done Psych and then Monster Cycle, but I think this year I went to consistently Swerve, which is a team-based spin studio. So you're split into different teams and you're competing based on numbers.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, and you ride to the beat of the music. But it's not as dancey as, you're sitting on the chair, on the chair. Like, you're not like Soul Cycle where you're just like up in the chair moving, dancing around. Like, I felt like that was too much. So
I understand. Yeah, mine's a pretty traditional, like, the spin move, so you don't do as much of the dancing either. But I'm interested in that, like, group competition thing. That sounds like good fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's great for team.
Yeah.
And they give you the stats so you can compete with yourself as well as compete with the team. So it's kind of fun. Yeah. So.
That is fun. I think in the new year, I'm going to be trying silks, the aerial acrobatics. It's kind of a hybrid between acrobatics and climbing. And I do climb. So I'm kind of excited to try this silks business. That should be fun. I'm maybe doing that in Brooklyn too.
Yeah, that should be fun. There's a lot. I think New York is great for fitness. I found myself like trying different things. Like there's rowing, there's high impact intensity, there's a little bit of everything.
Agree.
Yeah.
Plus, I can just run in the park because I live very close to Prospect. So beautiful run right there.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Me too.
So now let's talk about your writing. So what inspired you to become a writer?
That's a fun question because I don't know that I have a straight answer to it. I guess the shortest answer is I had a story in my head and I wanted to tell it. So I had this idea of an office where there were 2 desks just facing each other and there was nothing else in the room. And when I was younger, I had written some stories. So like I had basic ideas for a few characters, such as like the idea of a girl or a woman who moved down south from a flashy life in New York and hated it. So it just kind of all came together one day and I sat down and started writing it, and Not Suitable for Work was born. But as I was writing that, all the side characters that were in the story kind of started whispering their stories to me. And then before I knew it, I had this multiple book series of standalone stories all sort of tied around this central group of people. So I don't know that I can't really say that I like sat down and was like, I will be a writer, but because I'd always been, a teacher, but it's just there and it just came out. So that is the beginning of my writing journey. Yeah.
I love it. And I have a question, because these are romance, these are rom-coms. were you always a romance reader, or was this late in life, or you know?
Oh gosh, no. I loved when I was a teen. I loved like teen style love stories. So I might date myself a little bit, but like I loved Sweet Valley High and like stories like that were geared for teens. But growing up, my mother did not read. But my mother did not really read romance novels at all, or anything. And then I guess I got into the genre. I will say 50 Shades was my gateway. I was curious. I read it. But then I really got into it with like Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. That was definitely one that hooked me deeply into the genre. So yeah, that was definitely like not too young in life, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I was a late bloomer. I just had a conversation about this. For me, like I grew up reading Sweet Valley High and the love stories. I don't know if you remember. You were like, they're just like love stories, or I don't know the titles, but they're just love stories. And then I stopped reading. I think I read chick lit for most of the 2000s, and it wasn't until 2016. I read 50 Shades because everyone was reading 50 Shades, but it wasn't like anything. Like I didn't realize there was a genre with that. I was like, oh, just like everyone's reading that. And it wasn't until 2016 that I started reading new adult, and I discovered Christina Lauren, and I loved the Beautiful Bastard series. That was actually a gateway. It was just like it's so good. Yeah, it was so good.
It's so good. I know.
I love the early work. It's like so amazing. The early work is steamy. It's chemistry. There's banter. There's like 14 books, so there's enough for you to go around. So.
Exactly. No, I was deep into the Beautiful series. I think I tore through all of them. I mean, Beautiful Player is my favorite because Will. I just love.
Yes.
I loved him. Oh my God. Love. And then I did the Wild Seasons, the Sweet Filthy Boy, and those were fun too. Really enjoyed them. So yeah, but that's cool. Cheers to Christina Lauren being the definite open of the door. I love that.
It really did. And now I've been reading romance. Like there's no tomorrow.
Oh yeah, totally.
So you're a self-published author. So what was your journey to get your book published?
Oh boy. Okay. That's a big question. So after I had drafted all of these books, because like I said, they just kept coming out and I kept drafting them, and somebody who was close to me eventually said, either you're going to do something with them or it's just a hobby. And so I kind of took that to heart and went on the journey to get an agent, the querying journey, if you will. And I did. So I was agented back in the winter of 2018, did some massive revisions based on some great feedback from my agent, was not suitable for work. And I feel really made the book all it could be. And then went out on submission and kept getting feedback from pretty much all the publishers. I'm not going to say 100% gave the same feedback, but the feedback that I got was really good story, really well written, pass. Without any kind of it was a difficult thing to accept because there was no if you did this, it could. It was just good work. Really read it quickly. No. So after that, after about a year and a half, actually out on submission, and having gotten off the record ready to go at the same time, sort of trying to keep things in the wings, my agent and I parted ways. We felt like we had given it a fair go and couldn't do much more. So we parted ways, and I had to decide if I was going to make the final push and give it the self-publishing go, and did. So, this summer I started my sole proprietorship of AntiBelle books and went about publishing the AntiBelle series. So book 1, Not Suitable for Work, was born in September. And then, of course, Off the Record, book 2 was born a week ago. So that was last Tuesday. So So yeah, that is my publishing journey. Fairly long one, and in between, I was going through a lot of massive life changes as well. So it's really been a lesson in patience and goal setting, and really kind of evaluating what you really want and why you're really trying to do something. It's taught me a lot about myself. So I have no regrets, but it has been a long journey.
Mm-hmm. I think this thing about publishing is like it's a long journey just to get there, because you first have to write the book and you go through the revisions and then you go through the process of trying to get traditional published, and even self-publishing, like it takes time. Like, you know, you have all these different pieces that are coming together. If you do traditional publish, then you have to go through the timeline for them. But if you do self-publishing, then you also have to take care of the marketing, the publicity, and, you know, the work of the book. So just there's no right way, there's no better way. It's just basically it's, you know, whatever way that you can get your books to be seen by an audience. So
precisely.
That's awesome. So let's talk about your writing. Do you follow an outline, or do you see where the story leads you?
I'm sorry. Oh, outline. No, we call it being a pantser. I'm a total pantser. I do not outline my stories. Sometimes I don't even start with the beginning of the story. If I have like a scene in my mind, I'll draft out the scene, just to have that, and then figure out like, okay, what kind of story is built around this. Yeah, no, I don't plot it. I've never even tried, and I'm not sure. Like, I don't know, maybe it would be like this brilliant new thing. I'd be like, oh, I've never done this before, but it's always just been that I've had like some sort of scenario or a basic idea in my mind. I just kind of went with it. So that definitely does seem to be my style.
I love it. So how do you organize yourself as a writer? How do you keep track of the ideas, inspirations, and characters?
I have a ton of Word documents that have all kinds of different scraps and notes in them stored on my computer. But I also have a couple of different journals, paper journals that I keep ideas. Like occasionally I'll just write out like a scene, or I'll start jotting notes on a character, like a character profile there. That's a good place. Since all my stories are interconnected, it's good to have like almost, if you will, a family tree of it, which is actually something I'm really hoping I can have somebody design at some point as the stories to go deeper into the series. It's just nice to kind of have a visual of like who knows who how. But yeah, I keep those are handwritten, and then just I have tons of partial ideas, scraps, different revision pieces. I won't delete like any file. I have all my old iterations. I have side content that never got put into the books. You know, anything that came to me, it's always there just in case it needs to come out again.
Yes, there can be potential deleted scenes or bonus content. So
right.
That's awesome. So do you share your work along the way, or do you wait until it's completed for others to read?
That's a kind of in between. I have one very dear friend. Her name is Sarani, but she has read all of my stories, and they have been in some of the roughest form. So they will be complete. Like I have never like shared part of the story or shared it. Well, that's not quite true. I guess when I first started writing, my then husband, I would read him like chapters as I did it. So I guess I'm saying that that's slightly untrue, but for the most part, no, I'll wait until I have a completed story. But yeah, it's not many people who see the very early drafts. I'll say that much. I love having critique partners and feedback beta readers. That's been some of the most valuable experience in terms of really getting the stories to come together. I absolutely adore the people I work with in terms of giving me feedback and criticism. I think that's so important.
Yeah, I think that's like so helpful just to get the feedback and, you know, to see where the story leads to, or to see how a character can grow, or can be like, oh, you can try this or you can try that. So that's exciting.
Exactly. There was there was a part of Off the Record that I'm not going to say anything because it's going to kind of spoil it, but the male main character of Nick, he was kind of in his dark place, and the things he was doing, I thought it was interesting. But one of both my agent and at the time, and then one of my critique partners, Sarah Smith, they were like, when they read the draft of it, they were both like, no, Nick, no, you can't do that. And so I was like, all right, I'll change it. I hear you. Message received, ladies. So, yeah, super important, I think, to get that kind of balance.
Love it. So let's talk about the AntiBelle series. You mentioned the source of inspiration and where the story started. But the series is set in Nashville. And I'm curious to see, you live in Brooklyn and the main character lives in New York City. So I was curious to see why you set the series in Nashville as opposed to in New York City. It's kind of like an interesting setting.
That's true. First of all, yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of stories are set in New York, or New York always becomes this like ideal spot, especially in like books and movies. And in fact, in book 2, in Off the Record, they're actually in New York for a while. And I did get to have some fun with some of my favorite landmarks, just dropping references in Manhattan, not Brooklyn.
Okay.
But the decision to set it in Nashville was an interesting one. Like I said, I had this vague notion of a woman moving home or needing to move somewhere like down south. Well, that's because like I said, that's where I'm from. But the idea she had to leave her life and that she was bitter about it. Like she viewed New York as the pinnacle, they say if you can make it here. So this idea of like her life crumbling, her going back and being bitter about it. But the funny part is that, when I was growing up in Nashville was all right, but it was nothing. I mean, other than the country music scene, there was nothing that great about it. I spent most of my adolescence hanging out at the mall. It was fairly boring. And me and one other friend of mine, we were always like basically hell bent on getting out and living somewhere big and exciting. And then it was almost like as soon as I moved away, Nashville became big and exciting. So I try not to take that personally. But no, just over the past several years, Nashville has just exploded and had this renaissance of just great cultural scene, great food, great music scenes of all genre. And it's just a really beautiful and very fun place to be. And so there was just something about that I really wanted to honor in terms of my hometown. So it's sort of a hybrid between this idea of this woman who feels like she's really fallen far, but then also like the amazing thing that she gets to learn that she actually has come home to a beautiful place and that this can be her home and she can be happy and in love there and thrive. So yeah, Nashville, the books are a bit of a love song to my hometown. And it's very interesting because if you could ask like 16-year-old me, I would be interested in that. I'd be like, no, but really it has been very special to be able to incorporate all these places that I love so much. And I still love to go and see. It's very cool.
Yeah, I love the book is set in Nashville. I think for me, it's something unique. I like traveling with books, like it's something exciting. And I love the idea that the city exploded after you left. Like there's something to be said about, there's a complete renaissance that happens after you leave. You're like, why did this happen when I was here? So that's beautiful. So, I love it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's a great place to go party. It's a great place to go be. I love it. I love going there. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So we have a hate lover trope in this novel. Celeste wants to hate Ben because she wants a dog. So that's the hate part of it. But then Ben doesn't want him to hate Celeste. Like he's like, I just want to help you and be your friend. I love the dynamic that was happening. That it was just like that. It wasn't like this completely like I hate you because you're horrible. It's because I hate the situation we're in. So why was it important to have this as a character arc, like as a trope, in the novel as opposed to, friends to lovers or second chance romance or, all the other fun tropes that are out there?
Because, okay, this is a great question, and I've never really thought about it, but it is a great question. Celeste had to battle. Celeste had to fight to put her life back together. Her life had fallen apart. Everything that she had built, everything that she had defined as markers of success had all fallen away. And what she had not realized is that her self-worth had gone with them. And so at the time that she was betrayed by her ex-boyfriend and kind of life, she called it unraveling, she kept telling herself, I'm fine. And the truth was she was crushed, and she didn't know the depth of her crushes. She knew she lost her job. She knew she needed to move back home, but like in terms of the soul work that she needed to do. So she needed to compete one more time, and it needed to be a hurdle that she felt like she had to cross and climb and win, because what she really had to learn is that she didn't have to fight. And so working with them and loving Benjamin was really her true challenge, and letting herself be open to the idea that somebody could look at her and say, you're wonderful, and you don't have to be this person with armor. You don't have to be the boss all the time. Like, you can just be you, and I'm going to look at you like you're the most amazing person. So as she's trying to hold on to this last bit of strength that I can do it, I've got it, it's together, I will win this, I can get this back together, everything is fine. She just had to learn that, like, that wasn't actually the battle at all. So that's why I think I went with that trope.
Yeah, I like the trope. I think it was just like, I think it made sense. Like, they were competing for Rob, and the way Celeste's story, like, her life was broken. Like, he was like completely falling apart and just trying to build them back together, and then realizing that the way she was trying to build them back together was not working. Like, that's not
right.
Like, I think that are a different way.
Yeah, it is, and it is a bit of a spin on the enemies to lovers. I call it rivals to lovers, but it is because, if we think about Beautiful Bastard, like, that's a fun, like, hate love. Like, they hate each other, and there's so much like headbutting spark. And then if you think about The Hating Game, or if you think about Faker, there's always that like fun spark of like, oh, these two people can't stand each other, and then they stand each other. But this one's a bit different because it's immediately not like opposites attract. It's more like they know they attract, but they can't. So it is a little bit of a spin on it, but I do love the hate to love trope, or the like resisting it. Like, no, we don't like each other. I love that trope because, I don't know, it's just so much fun to write. But yeah.
Yeah, it's my favorite trope. Like, I seek those out. I love, the whole episodes. I love when they build on relationships, and you're in a city watching it. You're watching Becker and Becker, and I just and you realize by book 3 they're like together. You're just like, when are we gonna get together? I love that whole process of like, the relationship builds on with a spark. It's like a spark that brings a relationship together.
Yes.
But I love the fact that this is a rivalry. Like, they were just competing for a job. Like, that's the conflict was competing for a job. It wasn't conflict about their personality or the way he was or the way he looked. It was just more like, we're competing for a job, and one of us, it's 100 days. One of them is going to be the odds made in your favor. So
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what can we expect about next book that came out?
Okay. So Off the Record is out now and available. And I'm super excited about it because it is the story of Celeste's cousin / Benjamin's friend, Nick. So Nick is this freewheeling guy, and he's not about like big commitments or any of that. He just wants to work he's a music audio engineer / suddenly bumped up to producer at a music studio in Nashville. And he just likes taking it easy, playing some music, hanging out with his friends. And then he gets this job, he gets a client who is this new pop star, and the pop star has won America's talent competition, but he's the pop star at the moment, and he's come home to Nashville to record his debut album for the press and buzz. And unbeknownst to Nick, on Jesse's, that's the star's team, his media manager is Nick's high school love. So this one is a second chance romance. But suddenly freewheeling Nick Field is pulled into this world of a pop star where he's part of an entourage and he doesn't know what to do about it. And at the same time, too, he's falling hard again for the one woman who ever was able to catch his heart. So this is a second chance set in the shadow of a rock star. It's a rock star romance, but the rock star is not the main character. So yeah, that is the gist of book 2. It is set in the summertime, and it picks up. And in that one, it's the summer after the events of Not Suitable for Work. So Celeste and Ben appear as friends, and they're a couple at that point. So yes, and that sort of continues the story of the AntiBelle world.
I love it. And what can we expect about Olivia's story?
Yes. Okay. So book 3 is Olivia. And when you read Not Suitable for Work, you will meet Liv. No one ever forgets Liv. She has a very strong personality. Book 3 is called Nemesis. And we're going to call that one a hate to love. We're going to call that one a definite hate to love, but it's not a workplace. It's, Olivia is bold and sassy and very, very protective and loving of the people in her world. She is a strong lady and she doesn't take any crap. And she lives with her brother, who is a widower, and her niece. And for the summer, her brother's best friend from college, Will, needs a place to stay because his apartment's being renovated. And Will and Liv do not get along at all. At all. So this is going to be a story of definite hate to love. These are 2 very strong characters, and there's a lot of spiciness between them. But Liv has a lot of hurdles to clear before she can claim her happily ever after.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And that comes out in April, right?
That is scheduled to come out in April, yes.
Yay! That is very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got books to look forward to.
I know. I'm so excited. I'm talking about Liv. I've been working so long to get books 1 and 2 out, and thinking about bringing Liv out into the world. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. I'm so excited. So yeah, I'm very keen to have that one as well. But right now I'm very much enjoying having people tell me that they're enjoying first 2. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. Yeah. So now let's go to our round of book recommendations. So here's an opportunity for you to share with our audience what they should read next. So what is your favorite genre?
Romance is definitely a top genre. I mean, I can tear through romance novels. Love it, love it. Super fun read, super great thing to read. I guess beyond that and outside of the romance genre, probably my favorite genre is either science fiction or dystopian fiction.
I love it. So the Hunger Games and, dystopian Hunger Games and whatnot, that world?
Hunger Games is great fun, yes. If you want to get a little bit darker, Margaret Atwood is probably one of my favorite writers. I love Ursula Le Guin. I love Frank Herbert's Dune. It's a great book. So that's definitely probably one of my top genres as well.
I love it. Who's your favorite author?
Well, in the romance genre or out?
Let's do romance.
In romance, my favorite author, I can't pick one.
Well, you can pick a few. It's okay.
Okay. I would definitely pick Lucy Parker.
Yeah.
I love her series. Her, The London Celebrities. I think they're fantastic. I love Brenna Aubrey. I love her Gaming the System.
So good.
Yeah, I know. I love the girl geek thing. It's brilliant.
Yes.
Ember Casey, I love the Cunningham family. I love the way she does family books. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
How can I not mention Sarah Smith? Faker is a beautiful book. I am so excited for the world to meet her second book because I've had the honor of pre-reading it. I love Bella Andre. I think she's wonderful as well. I would say those are probably my tops. I'm currently reading It Starts With a Kiss by J.L. Peridot. She is one of my colleagues, one of my social media friends. So I'm super into that book again, talking about girl geeks. This is a coder on a spaceship of story. So yeah, it's super fun. Yeah, it's super fun.
That is super fun. I'm going to pick it up.
Yeah.
So what are your top 3 favorite books of all time?
Top 3 favorite books of all time. You're killing me.
No.
See, now what I'm having to do is I'm sitting and look at my bookshelf because when people ask me that question, the answers immediately fly out of my head. I would say that my favorite books of all time, we could put The Color Purple. That's definitely one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, do I say The Hobbit? I do say The Hobbit. I'm going to say it's one of my favorite books of all time because it was a story my dad read to me when I was a child, like a bedtime story. So I will say The Hobbit for the fantasy genre. And I'll throw A Beautiful Bastard on there for the simple fact that it was my gateway and I've read it probably like 6 times. So that's a good one to keep in the genre. We'll keep it there. So if I have to pick 3 of all time, yeah.
I love your list. So what has been the book that you read this year that you love?
A book I read this year that I loved? I love, like I said, I'm loving It Starts With a Kiss. I'm nearly done with it now. Love Faker, although technically I didn't read it this year. A book that I'm really loving right now is Spiritual Rebel by Sarah Bowen. It is a nonfiction. It's a sort of philosophical book around modern spirituality, which I'm really enjoying. Yeah, that's great. And let's see, I'm very interested. I haven't read it yet, but this book by Nicole Mabry, Past This Point. And I'm very excited about reading River by Rain Leslie. And I'm hoping I'm pronouncing her name right. I realized I should have asked that, but she is one of my great collaborators again, social media, and I'm super excited for her book. I will be taking that with me when I travel next week.
I love it. So tell us where you can find me online.
Where we can find it online?
Where can I find you online? Tell us where you can find you online.
You can find me online. Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, sure. So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at writer Skye McD. So that's SKYE. You can also find me on BookBub and Goodreads and, of course, Amazon. I have my author profile page and a storefront where you can actually buy stuff that's inspired by the Not Suitable for Work / AntiBelle books. I am on Facebook, but probably not as much. And then, of course, my website where you can sign up for my newsletter and get all the inside scoop and bonus content and whatnot. That's SkyMcDonaldWrites.com.
I love it. Thank you, Skye, for being on the show.
Of course. I'm so glad to have been here, Laura. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Skye, for a great interview. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider leaving a review on iTunes. We'll be back this Thursday with a great book recommendation show. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.